What's up, Kavin? How's it going? I'm Chris. Welcome to your reading. First of all, I want to say thank you for trying a reading with me and for watching my channel. I really appreciate that. Second, I want to say I'm sorry. I truly apologize for the wait. To be perfectly transparent, I got a huge demand of orders, kept making more readings available, and now I got stuck with this huge crazy backlog that was just been hard to juggle with like my full-time day job and readings for the channel and everything. So I do appreciate you hanging in there with me. I do also believe that messages come to us when we're ready to hear them and when we need to hear them, right? So I do hope that what comes through today is exactly what you need to hear right now, and that we'll get a little understanding, right? And we'll get a little, sorry, I use this oil before my readings. I forgot to do it before, just like as a little sensory trigger that I'm about to start reading. Fill amethyst and stuff, it's cool. Anyway, so you're asking about, you're feeling stuck, you're alone, you're looking for your tribe, you want to know how to get like unstuck and what moves you can make, right? So Kevin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's like Kevin with an A, right? If I say Kevin, I hope you forgive me. I'm sure you get that a lot though too. I must be. So let's look at it. We'll get a little insight, a little understanding, and then we'll like look at steps forward that you can take, right? So starting off, we have the Emperor as your central situation. This to me makes perfect sense for your situation, right? The Emperor is Aries, and it's a card very much about independence, about strength, right? But also can be about like the loneliness or the disconnection that you feel when you're at the top. So I know you're feeling stuck in your job and feeling stuck in a lot of different ways, but I do want to say here that this feels as if like this is a person who has kind of been trying to get their shit together, right? Who has been maybe focused on the self, right? You're a Taurus. Tauruses are very much about making sure that like you're okay materially, right? Working a lot. And sometimes I think for your sign that can translate into like, you got a little dirt on my jacket. I think because I was burning incense earlier and there was a little smoke. Ooh, sorry about that. Your sign, oh yeah, very much about work. Let me just make sure this is on. Sorry, I had my microphone not turned on multiple times today. So just getting a little paranoid. Back to your reading. Taurus is a sign where I think sometimes you guys can get so caught up in like, you know, your security and your stability that sometimes the other stuff, right? The emotional stuff. And you're also earth signs, right? The emotional stuff maybe gets neglected or forgotten about, or at least like pushed to the side, right? So the Emperor is very much empowered. Like you said, you're not lonely, you're just alone, right? And that makes sense, right? It's not like you're hurting in a way. It's just like, what's next, right? Really fully wanting to embrace, to me, what is like a well-rounded image of the Emperor, right? Someone who is not only successful and, you know, secure, but who feels happiness, right? Who feels joy. The Aries is also a sign that can sometimes also neglect their emotional world, right? They're always feeling like so strong and so in charge and like on top of things that, you know, sometimes they forget that they're a person with feelings and like they wonder why they're angry. They wonder why they're feeling alone, right? So I think right off the bat here, Kevin, we are going to be looking at, in my opinion, in my intuitive sense, is like we're going to probably be looking at like your inner world a lot here, right? Your emotional state. You know, sorry, the heat in my apartment just turned on. Let me try and move the microphone a little closer, so in case that's a little loud, and it should turn off in another minute. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So a lot of distractions so far already, right, Kevin? It's possible that you're feeling a little all over the place. You know, it's possible that it's almost as if like you feel drawn to a lot of different things, and it's like you don't know where to go. You don't know which direction you should take, right? I'm gonna be super close to you for a minute, just so that like the sound of the heat in the background doesn't drown out my voice. That's loud, right? All right, so let's take a look at the bases here and see what exactly is making up the situation that you're in, right? Okay. So the sun. As the first card of the basis, I do feel like this is telling us that you have been experiencing success, right? That maybe even in your past you felt maybe more of a connection to people, more of a sense of love, right? It's almost as if like maybe the reason you feel the way you do now is because you felt this in the past, right? You know what it feels like to be connected to people who are like you. You know what it's like to have, you know, a love that is so meaningful and profound to you, right? Well, this is a good sign. This at least means that you have an understanding of your emotional nature, right? You have an understanding of the positive stuff that that brings to you, right? Because you felt it before. And it's almost as if like this is still inside of you somewhere, but it's just a little buried, right? I love the way you phrased it, as if like, you know, things aren't going badly for you, but you're feeling stuck, right? And that makes sense. It's almost as if you have this deep inside of you. You can feel the warmth, you can feel like the light, but you're not sure how to get back in touch with it. All right, so first of all, with these two cards here, I do feel like, I don't know, you know, based on the question that you asked about being stuck at your job, my guess would be like, obviously you're not satisfied, but if I didn't know that, or if I didn't like try to assume that from what you wrote in about, I think with these two cards, this could be showing like that you've been successful, right? That, and that could be relative, right? Maybe it's like you came out of a rough patch and you got grounding and you got solid, and like, you know, you figured out your housing situation, you figured out your money situation, and almost like you got to a good level. And now this idea of like being stuck isn't like you can't move, but like you almost want to level up, right? It's like, it's the difference between like surviving and thriving, if that makes sense. Yeah, 10 of Cups, right? Coming out right after this, like, still a bit of the past, but I think that this is more recent, right? I feel like there's probably for you some sense of connectedness to your family, right? But also, you know, I do feel as though, Kevin, this sense of loss, right? And not loss in the sense that, like, you know, someone died or there was like, maybe there was a breakup, but of lack of connection. Lack of connection to people specifically, but I think also like a lack of connection to yourself and a lack of connection to the things you do on a daily basis, right? So this could be that you have a good job, right? But it could be that that job is not doing it for you, right? It's not really fulfilling you in the ways that you want, right? When we talked about wanting more, wanting to not just survive, but thrive. Okay, good, the heat is off, so I can stop yelling. On that note, once again, I just need a drink. Right? But, you know, coming up this way, I do feel, though, that you have a good circle, right? I do feel like even though, you know, you're saying about looking for your tribe, it could be that, you know, family-wise, you have people who are there for you, right? Sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, maybe your parents too, right? Like, I do feel like what this card is saying, though, is to count your blessings, right? With these two together, right? This is like saying, like, yes, this might have been in the past, but also like a reminder that like this energy is there for you, right? You know, sometimes we take for granted certain people in our life, right? Sometimes we feel, you know, like our mother is always there, but that's not always like what we want, right? That's not always good enough for us. We want a close group of friends. We want the spouse connection, you know? But what I think this cards are saying here right now, Kevin, at least as a good start, is to take stock of what you do have. Take stock of the emotional abundance that you do have, right? Even if this is something as cheesy as like writing a list of things you're grateful for. Because what happens there is like, not only are you reminding yourself of what you have, but you're also, it's also an act of empowering, right? Because when we feel without, we don't really feel like we're capable of making change, that we're capable of, you know, embodying our best power, right? But when we remind ourselves of like, hey, we do have this, we do have that, like, it's almost like something to work with that you can use, right? So good start here. I think like, you know, there is to me still a sense of like loss or, you know, just not having what it is that you want. You know, not feeling that connectedness. So let's see what we have going forward for you. I feel like the next two cards tend to represent like where we are. Hey, right? So, you know, Kevin, with the Four of Wands here, I think that, first of all, like, to me, what this could mean is like family celebrations, right? The Four of Wands is very much about celebration. So, you know, for instance, if you haven't seen certain people in your family for a while, this might be a good time to get in touch with people. Right? I feel very strongly like there needs to be this like sense of happiness, sense of support. You know, the way like sometimes, and I don't know what your specific family situation is. So, you know, if you maybe didn't have a supportive mother, maybe you had a supportive grandmother, or aunt, or cousin, whatever. It's like those people just make you feel like you're awesome for no reason, right? It's like that unconditional love. And I feel like you need to experience that right now. I do feel like you need to get in touch with people who just care about you and like you just for who you are. You know, not like you have to prove yourself to somebody, right? Not like you have to be a certain way. But I also feel like what the Four of Wands is getting at is this place of comfort, right? Like that maybe right now, what I've been saying this whole time is that things are good but not great, right? It's almost as if you have this resting place where, you know, you've been through it. Sometimes to me, the Four of Wands is like, in my head, I get a picture of like somebody coming home from a war, right? That's what it reminds me of. It's like a homecoming. It's like a celebration. It's like a time of peace and relaxation and comfort, right? So again, that whole counting your blessings thing, like if things are going pretty well for you, even if you want them to be better, I would say just like, it's important to acknowledge that. It's important to acknowledge like where you've come and acknowledge that like you're in a stable place. A place where like you can now make moves for the better, right? So maybe this also suggests, Kevin, like again with the Four of Wands, that analogy I use of war, it's like a period after a difficult time. right? So this could have been like that you've been going through some stuff. Maybe you had a lot of financial insecurity. Maybe you had a lot of emotional insecurity. You know, maybe there was a breakup. Maybe there was just like a starting over, right? And now it's like saying like, you know, things are kind of okay. So appreciate that, right? It's okay to want to move forward, but like the Four of Wands is also like a break, right? A timeout. So, you know, this feeling that you're talking about being stuck, that's all it could be, right? It's like a break. It's like a resting period in between what you've been through and like what you're going towards. Right? Because look, these are both fours, the Emperor and the Four of Wands, which is saying to me that like this is feeding into this, right? This period of rest is actually going to be ultimately empowering to you. This feeling of being stuck, right? That's the beauty of what we're going through right now, right? It sort of forces you to think consciously, right? To get unstuck, to be creative about like how you want to live. Like imagine if you were just in a life where you had all the things you wanted. It almost like brings this place of complacency. I just want to get that out of the sunlight. You know what I mean? And so appreciate that this time is like a good opportunity for you to like really invent the world you want to live in. And then we have the Seven of Wands. You want to talk about getting unstuck, right? Seven of Wands, we're talking about, see, this is why I said this is just a resting period. Because these two are almost like so dynamically opposite. This is somebody who has just like all this energy to plow through obstacles, to face difficult people, right? So this is almost like the person who is well rested and now can like fight for themselves, who now is like ready to forge forward, right? I feel like also with this card though, Kevin, I don't know if you're feeling opposition from people, right? Like what I was talking about with the family, and I was maybe hesitant to like be specific about, you know, moms or parents. Like maybe there are just people in your life who are causing you a little difficulty. And I don't necessarily mean parents. It could be like, I don't know, if you have a roommate or, you know, someone at your job, right? This is just really a strong sense of challenge and obstacles, right? But I do feel like ultimately it's about you being game for it, right? This person has the upper hand. They have the higher ground, right? So it's almost as if like, not that you're impervious to the bullshit, but that it can't really bring you down, right? So like, that's what I was saying about with the other cards here, where you're solid right now. You have a foundation that I don't want to say can't be shaken, but can't really be torn down. You've worked to create that, right? And now is the time to thrive. And what this card is saying though is like, it's going to take energy. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take difficulty, right? It reminds me of what I started off talking with this tarot reading stuff, right? It's so hard for me. I've been sacrificing like time with friends. I've been like, you know, coming home from work and then jumping into readings. It's like sometimes I just want to fucking relax. And even when I do relax, it's like I can't relax fully because it's like I know I have things to do, right? But my point in saying this is that it takes a little extra energy. It takes a little sacrifice. It takes a little bit of like commitment and willingness to like persevere to get yourself to the next level in your life, right? To push through that final barrier, right? So let's look at two pathway cards here. Pathway cards represent just like opportunities for you to move forward, right? They don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's not like necessarily one or the other every time, but okay. Okay, so on the one hand, we have the Hermit, which I was like, I know you don't want to see that, right? This is exactly what you don't want to see, right? This is though what I've been saying all this time about how you've been going through it, how you've been figuring out yourself, how you've been working through all these different like struggles, right? The hermit is solitude, but he's also about like a seeker who's been on a journey, who's gaining wisdom and experience and knowledge and like a fuller understanding of himself and his place in the world, right? Which is good, right? But what this is saying, as opposed to the magician, is like, it's possible for you to stay stuck here, right? It's possible for you to like, this isn't about your desire, lack of desire to be with people or to have the change. It's just being in a mentality, where you're used to being a certain way, right? Like I said, that like surviving versus thriving mentality, right? This is almost like still slumming it. This is like knowing that you can go out into the woods and nothing but a candle and a robe and get your feet all cut up and still come out of it okay, but not, well, like knowing that you can do that and like still doing it over and over again, as opposed to the magician who is like taking those lessons, taking that understanding, that wisdom, that knowledge, and using it to create something different, right? This to me is almost like the follow-up to the Seven of Wands. This, you know, determination is what I feel here, right? This like unbreakable spirit of, I'm just going to like make the best things I can make happen for myself, right? Like nothing's going to stand in my way. So to me, Kavin, and we'll get into this more, right? We'll do some clarifiers and look into this a little deeper, but I think this is really about getting creative. So if you are actually, I mean, Tauruses tend to have an affinity towards like the arts and like crafts and stuff. So if you do have anything like that for yourself, I would say now is a good time to embrace that, right? Now is the time to make things, like physically make things, right? But I almost get this like, and it sounds cheesy, but like this vision boarding sense with the magician, right? The magician, and what I mean by that is like having a clear vision, having a clear understanding of like what you want. And then when you have that, you can go for it, right? So you're saying that you feel stuck, but is part of the reason you feel stuck because you don't like have a really clear understanding of what you want? You know, you want to find your tribe. What does that mean to you? This is about getting clear with yourself first, right? Again, like all of these major arcana cards that have come up so far surrounding like the current situation, these are all very independent cards. These are all cards about, especially with the magician, about knowing yourself. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. About knowing yourself, right? About knowing who you are and where you fit into things, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to pull the outcome cards first, and then we'll do some clarifiers, and then we'll look at the bottom of the deck as well, right? Because I want to know a lot more about the magician. I want to know like specifically more so what you can do to create. I feel like the magician is well balanced, well rounded, right? This is somebody who cares about his material world, who cares about his, like, because he has all four of the suits here, right? Cups, pentacles, wands, and swords, right? Air, fire, water, earth. He has all the tools and all the resources he needs, right? He's well balanced, he's well rounded. So this is about taking care of yourself emotionally, like paying attention to your happiness, right? And then paying attention to your money and your physical form, your body, your nutrition, your health, your fitness, right? And then also having a clear mind, intellectual mind, right? Like reading, watching movies, indulging in culture, exploring, having adventures. And then like the wands are about making things happen, about having a sense of passion, right? About having like something that you really want, the fire in the belly. So for me, I always look at my life as like a pie chart, right? And part of the pie is family time. Part of the pie is friends time. Part of the pie is like resting, doing nothing, right? Part of the pie is dating. Part of the pie is doing my work. Part of the pie is my day job, right? And so that's just to me a visual of where I'm out of balance, right? So if I look at the pie chart in my head and I say, tarot work isn't getting enough time. Social life is getting too much time. I know where to take from and where to pull back from. So that might be a good exercise that works for you, right? Like imagine all the different parts of your life as a pie chart. And it could help you to see like not just where you need to put energy to, but where you're putting too much maybe right now, right? And why there's this like sense of like lack of movement. Perfect. Oh, beautiful. Excellent. All right. In the bottom of the deck, oof, we have the Seven of Swords. So, right off the bat, Kevin, a lot of people see this card as, ways that you're being deceived, ways that people are fucking with you, right, and your energy. But lately and right now, I've been feeling like, and actually I think this came up in the last Taurus reading, right, about like tricking yourself, about self-deception, about not being honest with yourself, in a way like telling yourself lies. You know what I mean? So I think that this is at play here. I think that for some reason there's a sense, and I don't get that from like what you wrote in about, like you seem like a grounded, in touch with reality kind of person. But this is almost to me like not being honest about your needs, right? Like I'm dating a Taurus right now and he's so work focused and he doesn't pay enough attention to his emotional state, and he does artistic work. And so to me, what I think of is like, he actually is a person who needs, and we'll look at this right here, right? The Princess of Cups came up, right? I personally feel like, I'm biased because I want our relationship to work out, but I feel like I can see it in his work where like there's a lack of emotion in a way, right? Very skilled, very capable, right? But there's that like spark that's missing, right? And to me, the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's reminding me of, what I'm feeling here, in the sense of like not acknowledging that something you think you don't need is something that you actually do need, right? So for that example, right, being emotionally cut off and then like to focus on work, but like your work not being as good as it could be because you're emotionally closed off, right? So to me, Kevin, this is maybe about, you said you're not lonely, but you're feeling alone. Maybe there's something you need to acknowledge here, right? Maybe you are feeling lonely. I don't know. Like, I'm going to take your word for it that you have an accurate assessment of yourself. But again, the Seven of Swords is maybe making me question that, right? But let's get into the outcome cards, and then we'll look more in depth at the bottom of the deck. So beautiful. First card out, Six of Swords. This is, you want to get unstuck. This is about getting unstuck. This is about like moving forward. This is about like letting shit from the past go, right? Letting it not have any bearing on you, where you've been before, right? This is about looking at greener pastures. This is about also that journey, right? In the Six of Swords, on a lot of decks, it's this guy rowing this woman and a child, right? But I love about this deck the way he's navigating himself. It's about making the journey. It's about like working it out for yourself, making a plan, adjusting it as you go, but taking the effort and making the making the effort to lead yourself, right, out of this shit. So there's a lot of really proactive cards here, Kevin, right? About really like having to take charge of it, right? So to me, this is like, you know, I have a friend who would complain about how another one of our friends never like hits her up to hang out. But I was like, do you hit her up? She's like, oh no. I was like, so then what do you expect? The reason me and her hang out all the time is because I constantly invite her to things. So then when she wants to do something, she thinks to invite me. My point is here is like, this is a very I mean, like here we have the Ace of Swords as your next outcome card, right? The swords are about action and movement, right? So if you're looking for your tribe, what are you actually doing to make that happen? Are you going to meetup groups, right? Are you putting yourself in different scenarios? Are you putting yourself in different situations where you actually would meet people who have similar interests, right? If you are, I'm not like beating up on you or like being pedantic or like, you know, anything like that. But it's just like, look at the note behind the note here. It's about being proactive, right? It's about really putting yourself out there, you know, really being determined to take risks on people, to put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you might meet a lot of new people and most of them might suck, but maybe you'll get like one new friend out of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's about persevering, right? When I became single, I realized like I didn't have a lot of my own friends. I was really lonely for like probably most of the first year that we were broken up. It sucked, right? But now, almost 2.5 years later, I almost have like too much socializing going on. You know what I mean? Where I have to like constantly turn down invitations, right? And sometimes it's too much. And I sometimes think about, oh, like a year ago, I would have loved this. I would have loved like every night of the week having people who wanted to do something with me. Now it's like, oh, bro, like I need some time to myself. I got to take care of some readings. You know, today I was supposed to have brunch with a friend. I had to turn it down. Last night, my friend wanted me to go meet her at her place, a different friend, and I had to turn it down. Because Friday night, it was a different friend's birthday, and like that kind of is the, if I had to do one thing that took away time from this, it was like celebrating my friend's birthday. You know what I mean? Anyway, my point is that when you persevere, when you keep putting yourself out there, and the reason I'm saying this is because when we broke up, I went to a lot of meetup groups, right? I went out and tried to meet people. Did most of those relationships or friendships pan out? No, not really. But it was important for me to get out there, right? To do something, to be proactive, right? To take steps. And meetup groups are great because they're focused around interests, right? If you like hiking, if you like tarot cards, if you like whatever, there's a group out there for that. And that's all I'm trying to say. It's like putting yourself in positions where you're going to meet people. Not just meeting people, but meeting people specifically with similar interests. Get into environments where like you're going to be connecting to people who like the things you do. It doesn't have to be a meetup group. You know what I'm saying? And then Kevin, as your last outcome card here, Princess of Cups. So this is, to me, like about a new period of love coming your way. This could be, you know, to me, it means two things right now. It could be like finding your friend group that you're looking for, right? And it could also be about finding a relationship. I don't know if you mentioned, I think you were asking about love. Yeah, you're asking about love. Princess of Cups is like bringing a new romance, bringing new imagination, bringing new passion, right? And so that can just be, you know, friends that you really click with. It doesn't have to be a lover. But I do think about, you know, love and relationships here. So it's almost like saying here that as you move away from your current position and your current way of thinking, and as you take steps and as you like take action and put yourself out there, it's almost like saying there's a reward at the end, right? That there's like this love that comes your way. Again, I still do think it's romantic love, but I feel like it could just be friendships, right? And if this is romantic love, I think it's somebody who maybe you meet through these things, right? Someone who like really shares your interests. Someone who feels like not just a lover, but a friend. You know what I mean? You don't always have to have the same interests as someone you're with, but like, it's cool if you do, right? All right, so I want to dig into the bottom of the deck before I shuffle it and we get into some clarifiers here, right? So what I was saying before about self-deception. Just at the end of the day, Kavin, what I'm trying to get at here is to be honest with yourself about what you need, right? Even if it's just here right now, you and me, nobody else is listening, right? We're just talking here. Being honest with yourself. You know, maybe journaling could help, right? And the reason I say that is because that's a place where you could really tap into the real honesty of what you're feeling without having to feel like too serious about it, because no one else is going to be reading it, right? No one else is going to be looking at it. This is just about you getting in touch with you, standing in your truth, right? Come on. Wow. King of Swords. Like the most honest motherfucker in this deck, right? King of Swords is so, I mean, we have not too much swords, but there was a sense here, oh yeah, with the Seven of Wands about clarity, right? And then the Ace of Swords about clarity. And the Magician, right? About knowing what you want, right? So about like not deceiving yourself, about being able to lead yourself honestly. So I do feel like, Kevin, there's a theme here in this reading about understanding more deeply what it is that you actually want. Can you articulate it? Right? Can you say in a sentence like what you're looking for? If you can, then that's then you should have everything you need to go for it, right? What did I start off this reading about saying about being creative? Being creative about how you get the things you want, right? The King of Swords, he acts, and he acts quickly and he acts swiftly without thinking, but it's because he knows so confidently who he is and what he's about, right? He doesn't have to think twice. It's fucking A. Queen of Swords. So, we talking about love here? With this Princess of Cups? Like kindred spirits. If this isn't like, again, if this isn't romance, even though I think it is, this is like best friend, like for life kind of energy, right? Finding your tribe. But to me, whenever like the king and the queen, especially of the same suit, come up like right next to each other, it's such an indication of partnership, of like finding your, so to speak, other half, you know? But again, like, it's through action. It's about putting yourself firmly out there. It's if you're looking for love. I hate dating apps, but you know, trying them. It's about, well, this is why, yeah, it's about trying things, Kevin. It's about experimenting, right? But again, even more so than the king, the Queen of Swords is the epitome of honesty. She represents like justice, right? Truth. Again, someone who acts swiftly, but because she knows her law, she knows what she stands for. She doesn't need to think twice. Death. So I do think that this is about also making changes, right? So we do have a lot of swords in this reading, and swords often mean like disconnecting, right? Cutting something off. As much as they mean the intellect and action, right? They also mean like clear. That's why, like, to me, the Ace of Swords is so much about clarity, because it's just about like this sword, nothing is going to get attached to it, right? Nothing is going to like sap it of its energy. So Kevin, I think that the way to get unstuck right now is to not just focus on where you want to go, but like focus on what you can cut yourself off from right here and now, right? I think you mentioned something about your living situation, right? If you're not happy with it, figuring out how to get away from it, right? Recognizing, like, even though we talked in the beginning about coming into a place of really establishing yourself, right? Again, we're talking about surviving versus thriving. Leveling up, right? Stepping everything up in every way you can. Separating yourself from the things that are not suiting you. The things that maybe I feel like here serve their purpose, but maybe like you're starting to outgrow. That's another thing that came up in the last Taurus reading, right? About taking a look at your life and assessing what's there and being conscious about it, being deliberate about it, saying, you know, this is what I wanted and this has worked for me up until now, but maybe this is not really working for me anymore. Maybe I need to start considering what's next. What plans, what feelings, what expectations of myself, what goals did I have that no longer suit me? Because with death is the promise of growth, right? That's why the image is cyclical. That's why it says the endless dance of death. Because it's like when something passes out of being, something else takes its place, right? It's about growth and transformation. Cutting off the things that don't work for you. All right, I keep wanting to go a little deeper. Hey, party time. Friendships. So are we talking about friendships? Yes. Are we going to be finding your tribe? Are we going to be having more fun, Kavin? Abso-fucking-lutely with the Three of Cups, right? This is like a promise that that's going to happen. This energy is around you for socializing, right? But you have to be proactive about it. And then I also still feel like it's connected to death in the sense where, like, I don't know exactly particularly, how that pertains to you. But there is a strong sense of like, only when you start to let something go does it make room for what's new. Maybe you have shitty friends, right? And maybe you're hanging out with them because like you just want the companionship. But I think it came up earlier at some point, the trials, the tribulations, the hardships that you put yourself through actually make room. So it's almost like it's good to be a little lonely. It's good to, like, if you have friends that you don't really like, just like not hang out with them anymore for a little while at least, right? Because that creates space. It's like, fuck, I'm lonely. I want people I connect with. And then you get the like drive and ambition and like will to actually go for it. I want to keep going. Shaking everything up, right? Taking the life that, this is what I was just saying about the Taurus thing, where like reassessing and reevaluating your plans. What doesn't fit anymore? What made sense that doesn't really, when you think about it, make that much sense anymore? What did I say before about the Queen of... I knew when I was talking about the Queen of Swords and Justice, I was like really hoping that this card would come up. I said new, but I was hoping it would come up, right? Fate. And this reading, so weird, this reading just hit 44 minutes and 44 seconds. Alignment, dude. Like, Justice is all about aligning yourself with what is best. It's about cutting off the shit that does not work. It's about creating balance for yourself. Remember what I said before about the pie chart thing and balance? Right? Where, again, with death, it's like we can't just be about taking things in that, you know, without letting things go. Right? Taking things in without letting things go leads you to a backup of 30 readings and like, you know, and then you're scrambling to fix them and like get on track, right? I invited so much good stuff in and it was coming, it was flowing, but almost too much, right? To the point where now I had to cut out like social time and stuff like that, right? That sucks. Anyway, point being, finding your balance. This and death to me is very almost fateful, right? Spiritual in a way. Bigger picture. And I keep wanting to go. I don't know why. I'm going to stop here. The Princess of Wands, right? That's a good place to leave it off. Ambition. Like, really, remember what I said about, you know, almost being lonely as being a good thing because then, like, you're super motivated to get out there and, like, find the companionship you want. That's what the Princess of Wands is right now, right? Getting that, like, fired up feeling of, you know, being ready to chase after and pursue the things that you really want. And I love that. I really love that. I think this is what you need, right? Talking about like shaking things up, talking about getting unstuck, right? Princess of Wands ain't stuck. She just like is on a path of glory. Ain't no one gonna stop her, right? So let's pull some clarifiers here. But I really want to say, did I show you the whole spread? I don't think I did yet. Let's take a look at everything here, right? So, Kevin, there's really a lot, even with the Hermit, right? Even with the Hermit, there's a lot of sense of power here. There's a lot of sense of like getting in touch with yourself, right? And doing the things that align you with like your power and getting serious about what you want. Defining it, right? And here we have like all this potential, right? That maybe things were better before. Maybe you felt like things were like put together and like you had happiness and you had connection, and now there's just like a resting period that you've been going through. And now again, like with that Princess of Wands energy, it's time to get revved up. It's time to get excited. It's time to be willing to fight for things. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? Push your boundaries. Because here we have moving forward. This middle row is not someone who is stuck. This is someone who's moving towards passion and happiness and excitement and like fantasy and imagination in the best ways possible, and love and romance. But again, Kevin, you know, we'll look at, you know, the rune cards and stuff to figure out what your best next step is. But I really feel like just like, we're going to look at the Magician more. As like a bit of advice so far, I think it's really about, first and foremost, taking stock, right? What in your life is valuable to you? What really isn't? And then, you know, not putting energy into the things that aren't. That's how you get unstuck, right? Separating yourself from, like, if you're going to get into a mentality of abundance, and you're going to get into a mentality of, like, having all the great things that you want for yourself, you have to start feeling that, right? So let's look at this Magician. You have to start feeling like you have standards in a way, right? Of like what you will accept and what you won't accept. Okay. Prince of Swords clarifying the Magician. I mean, going for it, you know, like really taking a chance, taking a risk, doing scary stuff. not thinking about the consequences, taking risks is like the important thing here, right? I think that it's time maybe to disconnect from people in your life who aren't serving you, right? I think it's time to break away from any like job situations that aren't fulfilling. So if you have a good job, but like, you know, there's no potential to move up, but there's no passion about it, this is saying like you have the power to manifest whatever you want. You just have to be willing to go for it. The Prince of Swords is unstable, but like potentially in a good way, right? He's okay with quick changes. He's okay because he's agile, because he can make sharp turns, you know, because he can like go back in a certain direction if like the way he's going isn't working, right? My point is that there's a fluidity. There's like ease of movement. Also from dropping burdens, right? To be light, to drop any connections, right? So if you have, even if your job is unfulfilling, if you have a weird sense of loyalty to it, let that shit go. You're loyal to you. You're loyal to yourself. You're loyal to your bigger vision of your life, right? If you have a sense of loyalty to someone in your life who isn't really fulfilling you, let that shit go. Because it's all about you and what makes you feel good, what satisfies your needs, right? We get into that, and you know, Taurus again is a very loyal sign. You guys are accused of being stubborn, and that can be true, but you're also like stubborn about, you know, who you care about in a way. Right? You know, not wanting to feel disloyal sometimes to people. Like for me, for instance, like I'm in a job and the job served its purpose, right? I was unemployed and I got a full-time job. It's a great company. It's a decent paying job. But like, because I've made friends there, because like I feel like I owe so much to this job, I've become complacent and gotten stuck. And realized like a year into it, like, I don't want to do this. This served a purpose for when I needed it, but now it's just not doing that for me. And you don't have loyalty to anybody. Doing what's best for yourself is not being disloyal, especially when it comes to like an organization or just like even just somebody who is, sorry, pulling the nature cards. Even if it's just like, being loyal to a person, right, who's not doing it for you. So the reason I laughed here is because the last card to come out as from the oracle cards, which is where I want to start, is action. What have we been talking about, Kavin, for the last 20 or 30 minutes or so? Taking action. This is that Princess of Wands fire in the belly that just says, fucking do it, bro. You know, go for it. Put yourself out there. If it's uncomfortable, it's useful. You will learn something from it. You will come out of the other side like bigger and better for it. Because look what we have first. We have victory, right? This to me is like getting everything you want. Being so much more capable of what you want than you maybe even realize. Being so much more capable of finding friendships than you realize, right? Because what comes after this? The wolf. And I know this says teacher, but the wolf is very much about kindred spirits. It's about your soul family. Right? Your tribe, like you called it. Like I call it too. But like it's like finding your tribe. But the wolf, like look at it sandwiched in between these two things. Right? About having the strength to pursue the things you want, having the like faith and confidence to go for it, right? and then acting on it. And then what do you get in the middle? You find the people that are important to you. You find the people who like add meaning to your life. Right? You regain purpose in your friendships, in your relationships, right? Very encouraging. I think like Kevin, you know, there's a really good sense here of getting everything you want. But, you know, this fell on top of this card, right? The wolf fell on top of the Ace of Swords. Knowing what you want. You can't call something into your life, into being, if you don't know specifically what it is. Right? Standing in your truth. Clarity of mind. Right? Being almost even like we said with the Emperor, like a little emotionally disconnected. Right? Making judgments based on what you know in your head to be right, not what like feels bad. You know, when I talked about loyalty a lot, I don't know if that has much specific bearing to you, right? But it's about like, fuck what people think, fuck what they feel. Because again, this is about your happiness and your truth and your honesty, right? All right, so I'm going to pull out the rune cards, and I'm just going to point it down so you can see as you shuffle and spread them out. We're going to pull one, and this is like a good indication of like a step forward, of like, you know, where do we go from here? All right, so just kind of like get it a little messy, mix it all up. Yeah, there we go. And then let's go with this one. Hey, this is the first time I've been using the rune cards in all my personal readings, but this is the first time this one came up. And I love this card. I wish it came up more. But like, Kevin, do you see anything here? Do you see any repeating imagery? The fire, right? Kenos is the rune of the torch. The reason it's the torch is because it's about warmth. It's about creativity. Remember what I was saying before about getting creative about how you live your life, about how you pursue the things that you want, right? This is about getting excited, getting passionate, right? And look, they have these like earth dwarves behind her, and then she has the home behind her, right? So this to me is very strongly representing like the way that you are like on the cusp of finding the people that you belong with, right? The home is about like where you feel comfortable, where you feel yourself. And this is like, to me, like a support group, right? So to me, what I'm saying here is like getting in touch with your passions, I think brings you closer to this, right? This is also about, she's wearing like a feathered cape, about shape-shifting, transforming, right? Being light, right? What were we saying all this time about letting things go with that Prince of Swords, right? Being light, letting go of the bullshit, burning up what does not fit you anymore, completely letting it go. Stop hanging on to things that don't work. Because when you do, not only will you be able to fly, so to speak, but like you'll also draw the people to you who are going to be the best for you. Right? Who are going to support you, who are going to feel like family. Right? It's all on the horizon. These things are right on the horizon. There's so much energy here. Right? So much passion. So much just like creativity at your like fingertips. So Kevin, like, if you're not artistic or anything, say, this says to me that like getting in touch with your passions is gonna bring people. Like, is there a community around the things that you're interested in? Right? Are there meetups? Are there events? Is there like a community of people who are interested in the same things you are? Getting in touch with your passions, getting creative, and also, honestly, this sort of represents like a stirring of the sexuality too. Right? Like a reinvigoration, like a lighting of that sexy part of your body, right? The sacral chakra. The orange second chakra that's all about creativity and sexuality. So what is it that you love? What is it that you're passionate about? Go out there and get it. It will take a little time, but with this rune, it's kind of like a rune of things happening fast, right? You add this rune to other runes to like give something fire and passion and make it happen quicker, right? So that's all I can really say here, right? Kevin, it's just like you have so much power and so much potential. I want you to be vulnerable, right? I want you to be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there in new and different ways, to expand your expectations, right? To really know what it is that you want. And if you do know what you want already, and if you're already clear and able to articulate it, it's about mustering up the energy and like the knowing that there's perseverance, that it's going to be a long, hard road, and getting yourself on track. If I could sum this up in a word, Kevin, it's about putting yourself out there. It's about breaking away. That's not one word in a sentence. Putting yourself out there. You know, taking chances. Again, also, I want to bring back, like, to summarize again, that, like, death. That Prince of Swords, right? It's counterintuitive, but it is about letting things go. To bring in what you want, you have to let go of what no longer works. Whatever that is to you. I wish we were here in person so that we could talk about it. I might start doing, like, live readings. It's going to take a little while to get there, but these readings are great, but sometimes I wish like I had the interplay of being able to talk to you and like hone the messages and figure out more specifically where you're at, right? So maybe that'll be in the future. Anyway, Kevin, I think this was like a pretty extensive reading. I think we got into a lot of stuff, and I think that, or I hope at least that it's left you with enough to work with, right? With enough insight into what maybe is going on with you, and then some possibilities for action. But I really wish you the best. I think you've got bright things ahead of you, right? Get pumped up. Get excited. Get like risky. Get that sense of adventure. And I think you'll do great. You know, Tauruses like stability. And I think right now, Kevin, it's a little bit of saying like, to get that stability, you have to like deal with a little bit of instability, but like in a good way where you're flexible and you can make changes, right? I know it's like maybe a little counterintuitive to a sign like yours, but the cards are saying saying, I was gonna say showing, I said shaying, showing that there's promise, right? All right, Kevin, so if you have any feedback, go ahead and leave that in the comments under the video. Otherwise, like, I wish you the best. I think you're going to do great things. And the March readings will be up soon. And really take care of yourself. And again, I appreciate you trying reading with me and your patience, and I hope it was worth the wait, and I hope it was what you needed to hear right now. All right? You take care. Have a great one, Kevin. Bye-bye.